Nation, Trey Strelko here. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Men's soccer battling right now in the AAC tournament. I got it on ESPN Plus. One and done for volleyball, and we take a deep dive into UCF football following the spring game. Let us welcome in the Sons of UCF, Adam and Mike, a couple of guys who always put their best feet forward. Too soon, Adam?
I see what you did there, Trace. Yeah, no, I see what you did there. I may have a shattered toe, but what's not shattered is my football dreams. The spring game was fantastic. Offense looked great. Team looked great. So while my toe may be shattered, my UCF football dreams are not, Mike.
Yeah, my feet were moving along fine this morning when I did my 5K race. So at least one of us got it done.
I will do a better job throughout the rest of the show, Adam, and try to toe the line.
There we go. Okay. I don't have a laugh track or anything like that, or else I'd play it.
People are laughing along at home. Men's soccer, I mentioned in the American Athletic Conference tournament being held at UCF. About 20 minutes into the first half, UCF and SMU, no score. The winner faces the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. We know we love opportunity to face Tulsa. Tulsa beats Temple in penalty kicks. So we'll be keeping track of this one in what we hope is not the last game for senior goalkeeper Yannick Uddle, the AAC Goalkeeper of the Year, and as well some other AAC awards this week. UCF's Yanni Sorokin, the co-midfielder of the year. And UCF wins something called the Team Fair Play Award. They have not had a red card this season. Mind you, it's just a 10-game season, but that's still pretty impressive that they have not had a red card this season. So we'll continue to monitor that as the game moves along. They started a little bit late because of the PKs and the extra session between Temple and Tulsa. But do you really want to face Tulsa? Jeez, they seem to have our number in quite a few sports.
I mean, we're due. Is that the only thing we got going here? We got to be due for a win at some point. Maybe this is it.
It would be at home at least, right? So I think we fare better against them at home. In Tulsa, it's a nightmare in all sports.
Yeah, softball found that out just a couple weeks ago, losing 3 out of 4 at Tulsa. So that's possibly good news on the night. The bad news is we should have been talking about volleyball moving on, but volleyball gets knocked out. First round, 3-2 to High Point on Wednesday afternoon. Mike, do you remember High Point's nickname by chance? We've talked about the last 2 shows.
2 weeks in a row. Was it the Panthers?
There you go. I believe that's correct.
Very good.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. This one, I guess, sort of unexpected. I mean, maybe you look down upon a High Point. You don't know much about them, but I think, Adam, you were watching the game. I saw from your posts on Twitter. They were pretty stout defensively, and they had an answer for UCF.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget they were.
Were they frozen? Is that what you're saying? That High Point was frozen? Were they frozen? There he is.
And there you go. Angling their blocks and finding ways to have hitters hit into their defense. I mean, it was just fantastic, especially that fifth set, Trace. They were essentially digging every ball, and UCF had no answers, and they couldn't get one down. And hats off to High Point. They were a really good team. Obviously, I don't think a bunch of us had scouted High Point this year, but you don't become 16-0 on accident, and I think that showed.
I just learned what a dig was the other day. I heard something about OPP today was a volleyball term. I know it is something else. But I try to watch this thing on ESPN Plus. Like you always rave about how great it is. I tried at work. Wasn't coming on. I clicked on it like 4 times. Couldn't get to watch anything.
It was on ESPN 3.
Or whatever. You know what I mean. I was using the app. I know I found the broadcast. I clicked on UCF High Point. It just didn't come on the screen.
There's actually a weird quirk. I've had that happen, Mike, where if it's on ESPN 3, it's not on the app for some reason. I don't know. I can't help you there.
That seems like something that they should figure out. I don't seem to understand why we need an ESPN 3. But High Point, by the way, advanced to play Purdue, got swept by Purdue today. So that would have been UCF's matchup. So I don't know how UCF would have fared against Purdue, but couldn't get past High Point. Now High Point's gone. As you can imagine, emotions very raw following the loss. Had opportunity to catch up with head coach Todd Dagenais. He described the emotions in the locker room following the loss.
The disappointment is off the charts. There might be a sense of letting down. I know I feel a sense of, letting people down. I'm sure that they do as well. There's a sense of, they didn't, maybe individually, they didn't play their very best. And there's a guilt that goes along with that, but that's sports. I mean, sometimes you're not going to play your best. This sport is nasty when it comes to finding a person that's not playing at the top of their game. But there's nothing for us to hang our heads about.
Yeah, you hear that, Mike? Nothing to hang their heads about. I can almost hear you saying hot seat for Todd Dagenais with a one and done with the early exit. I know how you are.
I mean, show it to me when it counts, man. Let's win some of these ball games, right? We talked about how we should be ranked higher or have a better seed than we were. Like Purdue was getting a free pass, and Purdue wiped the floor with High Point. We couldn't beat High Point. Results. I'm a results-based guy.
Yeah. Well, you can't run them. Remember, before the COVID season of 2020 was dashed to the spring, they did win an opening round NCAA tournament game a year plus ago. So he has had success. So no hot seat, no warm seat. I'm not sure that's going to save Johnny Dawkins or Greg Lovelady from your list, but you should give Todd Dagenais a break for a little while longer.
Yeah, no, I was just messing around. He's done a great job for the last few years. So. But next year, if we don't get past the first round, then it gets hot.
Yeah, it seems like he's really stabilized the volleyball program there, Trace. And yeah, I guess you can look at this season and say we could have done more, we should have done more. But ultimately, these things happen. This is why this is a tournament. It's a fluky thing. It's a one game, lose or go home situation. And if you don't have it on that night or that day, these kind of things happen. It's unfortunate, but I think the body of work shows that Coach Dagenais has the volleyball program in the right direction. But at some point, results are going to be needed. So I guess we'll see what that takes. But I think he's certainly got us pointed in the right direction.
And it helps to have Mckenna Melville. She is a standout Southeast All-Region team from the American Volleyball Coaches Association. When you have her coming back along with some other very talented players, they'll be a contender again when the season returns, presumably this fall. So they're going to have that quick turn, just a couple of months before they get ready for the fall season. Let's shift now to football, the spring game. I know you guys talked a little bit about it on Monday's pod. I asked on Twitter, what are the biggest takeaways that you have from the spring game? And at UCF, UniTracker said even with just the base offensive package, it was a breath of fresh air seeing Dylan rolling out of the pocket on the move, throwing over the middle of the field. There was a great deal of the middle of the field used during that spring game.
Yeah, I talked about on the show. My biggest takeaway, Trace, is the groan meter. I've come up with the groan meter, and I'll explain it to you quickly. So I feel like under Heupel, we had 5 to 7 plays a game where we would just go, "Ugh, what do we do? What was that?" Right? It typically didn't matter much because we were usually blowing teams out, so we were winning by 30. So the groan meter wasn't that big a deal. Under the one spring game I saw, and I will couch all this by saying, yes, it's a spring game. It was an exhibition. It was really a scrimmage. I didn't have any groan moments. I didn't have any moments where I had to put my hand in my head and I was shaking my head and I was cursing at my 13-year-old. I didn't have any of those moments. So whether or not that's just a function of it being a scrimmage, I don't know. But my biggest takeaway was it just looked like 2 weeks ago or maybe 2 months ago, whatever it was. Taj McGowan, former UCF running back, came on Twitter and said something to the effect of, imagine UCF's offense if we just ran our 2-point conversion plays. And we all we stuck to that goal. We stuck to that sort of that line of thinking. And it felt like I was watching that kind of offense on Saturday. Now, whether that'll hold true, it was the whole package, I don't know. But my biggest takeaway was a very few groan moments, which I certainly can get used to.
It's more of a regular style of offense with quarterback under center. Like you mentioned, Dylan Gabriel, not always in the shotgun. We're not always just chucking the ball deep. Not a gimmicky offense. We're going to have it mixed up, throwing over the middle, just like everybody's been saying. That's what we are got to look forward to going forward, and I like it. I like that kind of style better than just the bomb and then sideline pass and run up the middles.
Yeah, not much of a deep ball during this game, and we saw some versatility from Dylan Gabriel, who also caught the pass. I'm not sure we want to see him doing much of that, except on some trickery. You see a great deal of confidence in him, though, especially in the post-game media sessions, certainly becoming the leader of this team. And we spoke about the changes in the offense with several of the players, and I thought Dylan's window into some of those changes was interesting.
Man, there's so many. I just love, the way, we're able to throw out breakers, the way, we're able to, get outside the pocket, go under center, just a lot of different things that, defense has to prepare for, and that's something, that's pretty tricky for a defense. And, when we go out there and able to do that, it's a fun offense to play in. So.
And remember, as Coach Malzahn said, just about 60% of the offense and defense installed. They wanted to keep it simple this spring. So we didn't see much, but from what I saw, I liked what I saw.
First off, shout out to former UCF Knight Trey Neal, who seems to like the groan meter as an option. Trey, good to have you listening in. But Dylan looked comfortable. I mean, obviously it was probably his first time really running some of these plays. Obviously he's learned this over the springtime. He looked comfortable. I mean, he made really good throws. He had a beautiful throw trace. He threaded the needle perfectly to Ryan O'Keefe for a touchdown. He really enjoyed, I think, the offense based on what he told us. He seemed happy out there. He seemed relaxed. He seemed calm. Again, spring game, so it's a scrimmage. I get it. But he definitely seemed comfortable, and he definitely seemed more in charge than I feel like I saw last year. Maybe that's just hyperbole on my part, but I feel like he looked more in charge than last year.
And that's only going to get better as the summer progresses and he's working with these guys on the side. I'm sure they'll be able to go through the playbook for the next couple months and improve. By the time fall camp gets here, he'll be like he's been in this offense for 2 years. And groan meter, can we get one of those hats made? A groan meter hat? Is that possible?
You're the hat guy, Mike. Yeah, you're the hat man around here. I'm gonna have to rely on you for that merchandise.
I'll work on it this week.
Groan meter. You need to trademark that too in some capacity. Yeah. One of the people that was covering this game we're going to bring in now, he's Andrew Glukov. He writes for the Black and Gold Banneret. You can find him at StatBoyDrew on Twitter. And he writes a column after UCF football games called The Knee-Jerk Reactions, and did so again on this one. Andrew, thanks for joining us on the Sons of UCF Live. Let's begin by talking about quarterbacks. We knew what we were going to get from Dillon Gabriel, but what I'm most interested in is maybe a battle for the backup quarterback position. We saw a little glimpse of that developing.
Well, yeah, obviously Quadri Jones is going to be the number 2 guy. He's got the experience. The part that gets interesting is who's the third string guy. You have Parker Navarro, the holdover, and you have Mikey Keene, the new guy. And we watch both of them in action. Parker Navarro is a better athlete. He can run. He's much more shifty. He has to learn to throw the ball away. But I'll be honest, I was more impressed with Mikey Keene. He was more accurate. And in the first half, when his offensive line was nothing more than Swiss cheese to the defensive ones, he was still, 6 for 9 for 29 yards. That shows accuracy on his throws. Yeah, they didn't move the ball much, but what are you going to do when you have zero protection? And in the second half, he was 7 to 8 for 70 yards. And that's when they moved the rosters around and he wasn't facing against the ones anymore. That shows that he's built for this kind of offense. You don't have to have a cannon of an arm to run the Gus Malzahn offense. It has a lot of crosses, drag routes, button hooks, stops, stuff that's in the middle 2/3 of the field without having to go down 30, 40 yards in the air. And I think a player like Keene who can handle himself in the pocket is going to be a really good fit. And I'm going to recklessly speculate because I'm a guess and I can. Based on the quarterback class that's going in the draft, if Dillon Gabriel has a good season, he's going in the draft because this is a thin quarterback draft. So I think the race for number 3 is going to be really important for 2022.
So you think Quadri is a lock to be the backup? You're certain of that?
I think so for at least part of the season. You can't replace experience. He has game experience and enough meaningful experience more than the other players. And you can't replicate that. I mean, look at a player like RJ Harvey, who's physically gifted, but is still learning the trade of running back. He was a converted quarterback. He's not quite ready yet. He's showing glimpses. And as Gus Malzahn said during the press conference, every time he carried the ball, he got more and more comfortable, but he still needs development. And I think he's also another player who's going to be outstanding in 2022. And they may keep him back a little bit in 2021 to continue that development.
All right, Andrew. So whoever's the quarterback has to throw the football to somebody, right? So a lot of receivers kind of moving around out there. Who do you project to be the top four? So obviously, typically UCF will try to have four wides. Who are the top four wides for you that you saw so far in the spring?
Well, I mean, Ryan O'Keefe just blew everyone out of the water, and he was pointed out as being a breakout guy by Coach Wyatt early on, and he put in a lot of time with Dylan Gabriel, throwing sessions, film sessions, and the way this passing offense is designed, it's perfect for a shifty guy with agility, and that's what Ryan O'Keefe brings to the table. Is he's got very quick legs, not only burner speed, but he can change directions, and that's huge. You watched the spring game. The throws were in traffic. There was not huge amount of separation, but when you have an accurate quarterback like Dylan Gabriel, you don't need a lot of space. That's where Jalen Robinson struggled, as he had a problem breaking off on those shorter routes. His specialty was always deep routes. Well, he's going to have to keep working over the next few months to kind of tune his game, and I think he can do it. Plus, you have Amari Johnson, who's really coming along. As far as a fourth wide receiver, I'll be honest. I think you're going to see mostly three wide receiver sets. Is with the incorporation of the tight end with Jake Hescock. Last time I checked, the first pass of the game was a completion to a tight end over the middle. I don't think we're going to see too many four wide receiver sets unless things get really, really bad.
What about the running backs? We have a big stable of running backs. We try to talk about on the show this week which four we think are going to get the most carries. I don't even know, man. We got a couple of transfers coming in. Who do you see coming into the fall as the top couple running backs?
Well, Bentavious Thompson's going to be your presumed starter, and he has recovered from some injuries in the offseason, lost about 20 pounds. And as he told us when we were in an interview, he's no longer about the size factor. He's more about the speed factor. So UCF's going to need a bruising back. And it really depends how Bowser comes into the offense. If he can embrace it and really step in, he's going to be that bruiser back that UCF needs. If not, RJ Harvey is going to get pushed forward because you need a guy with some power. And UCF hasn't had that since Taj McGowan. And it showed in 2019 and 2020, those short yardage was hard to find. As far as beneath that, I really like Johnny Rockets. I'm gonna call him Johnny Rocket at this point. But Johnny Richardson has almost Adrian Killen's speed. He's a little more shifty as far as left and right. I would love to see more of him. And then you've got the young guys in back. Trillian Coles, Demarius Good. They're going to get buried in the depth chart, unfortunately. As far as this year, but I think that's actually the most complete position UCF has is your running backs. There's just so many to choose from, and there can be only one. It's like the Highlander.
Well, there could be a couple, I think, right?
I'll let a couple slide, but I want to throw a Highlander in there.
Plus the transfers, of course, also will factor into the mix in the fall.
Yeah, Bowser is the big one. I think he has the best chance of really jumping in there. His name escapes me, but the guy from Auburn can
Mark
really
Anthony.
squeeze in there. Anthony. But it's going to take, even though he's coming from a Malzahn-based offense, it's going to take a little bit of time to incorporate with the rest of the team chemistry. And you can't replicate. It's like experience. You can't replicate chemistry. You may have all the physical talents in the world, but if you don't fit, you don't fit. So it's going to take time. But as far as the guys coming in right now, if I had to rate four, I would put Thompson, Bowser, Richardson, and then Harvey.
Let's talk about the offensive line. During the great success of the 2017 season, Mackenzie Milton didn't go down too many times, not too many sacks that season. What do you like about the offensive line as you saw it in Saturday's spring game?
Well, the ones look solid. The one offensive line looks pretty good. And my big observation, pray nothing happens to Matt Lee, the starting center, because the depth goes downhill fast. And now Coach Herb Ham probably sees this, and he's been cross-training players to play other positions. Well, when I was younger and guys were not nearly as big, and I actually was closer in size to them, I played center, and it is by far the hardest offensive line position to play because of the requirements of line calls, that you have to look at that other positions don't. You know, the left tackle doesn't have to pay attention who's rushing against the right tackle, but the center does. And you know, you need that mental training and the experience that comes with. We also need to be able to snap the ball, and that's what really, really made me cringe during the spring game. Is the second and third string centers. That ball was a dead duck going from snap to quarterback. I mean, the quarterback, be it Parker Navarro or Quadri Jones, lost half to a whole second waiting on the play, waiting for that ball just to get in their hands. You can't do that. You got to find a way to get the ball down and get it faster. Matt Lee's got it down, and you know, everyone gave him a lot of grief early in the year when he was a new player, still trying to adapt to a really fast system that's really hard if you can't get a rhythm. What does he end up doing? All conference first team. He's pretty good. The rest of the line, Sam Jackson, Cole Schneider, it's a very solid group. They just need to stay healthy.
All right, let's talk defense for a second, Andrew. So obviously, new coordinator, a lot of new guys coming, particularly the secondary. Where are you at with the defense? Are they at where you expected, above where you expected, or below where you expected?
Well, during the last press conference at the spring game, Gus Malzahn said they've only installed about 60% of the defense so far, and it was apparent. It was a very basic defense. I did see them move around a little bit. I did see a dime package run with Tatum Bethune being your lone linebacker, and that's a lot to ask from him. But I'll tell you, he's one of my breakout defensive players. He has done it all and has a gung-ho attitude of, I'm going to do whatever I need to do. And he's got the physical talent to back it. I don't see, at least from this point, a lot of gimmick as far as the defensive side, but the part of that is because it's still a work in progress. I think we'll see some wrinkles come Boise State. You know, you wish there was a tune-up game ahead of that, but you know, might as well have two first coaching games. Prime time ESPN, most likely on a I'm guessing going to be a Thursday night based on how the Friday schedule is shaping up for them.
When Malzahn was hired, some people weren't sure, but now it seems everybody loves Malzahn. How many losses is it going to take before everybody jumps off the Gus bus?
Well, for you, one.
Well, I did a couple of articles as far as looking at guys to come in as coaching, and I'd like to point out that both articles' highlight picture was Gus Malzahn. He was a guy I was looking at from day one as a very intriguing pickup. One, he had no buyout. I mean, he's sitting on $21 million of scratch from Auburn, no strings attached, no offset, nothing. So, I mean, he's coming here because he wants to coach. And I think we as fans have to have a realistic expectation of Rome wasn't built in a day. I think 2-3 losses is very reasonable. I mean, it could be better, it could be worse, but I think 2 losses is kind of your mark right there, because I mean, things happen. You know, look at UCF 2019. That was probably the most talented out of the 17-19 run, top to bottom, and they managed to fall on their face more than once. I mean, football is a game of inches. UCF during the 25-game win streak barely squeaked out of a number of them. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and they're going to need some lucky bounces.
Kalia Davis, he's sort of the spring story, right? Taking the COVID year last year. You see him emerging as the team leader on defense?
Well, yes and no. He does say he's not a talker. He likes to let his actions do the talking, and as a leader, you need a guy who's willing to talk a little bit. So he's going to be, the silent assassin. He's just going to go there and just absolutely destroy offensive lines. Multiple players on offense and defense during spring practices called him out and said, "Hey, this guy's been tearing it up. Look, he played the Wildcat, and it did great. He had that fun carry. He had a lot of fun doing it. He got a first down." And, I'd like to point out he was a running back in high school. Malzahn said, "We're going to see that again." I'd like to see that again. I mean, come on. A 200-plus, defensive lineman who knows how to make cuts into the gaps, running on a short yardage situation. I mean, that's terrifying, for opponents. But as far as defensive leader, I think Tatum Bethune's going to be your guy. He has this intensity when he's talking. I mean, he's there. I mean, he's in your face. He has this energy that just makes you want to focus on him. Kalia Davis, I mean, he's just a fun-loving guy. I think he's going to be kind of the opposite of Bethune, of trying to, okay, don't take it too intense. Let's also have a good time. I think they're going to actually work well with each other.
Andrew, how concerned are you with the kicking game? Obviously, Obarski missed an extra point, misses a field goal. We saw Osteen with a bit of a Shankopotamus on the sideline there. How concerned are you with the kicking game?
Well, Osteen, that was an off game for him. He had a pretty good season last year. It was just off. I mean, he would go from a 51-yard punt to a 20-yard complete dud. I'm not too worried about him. It was just a bad day. Daniel Obarski, this was more of the same from last year. I mean, the first field goal, that was not an easy kick, and he didn't miss it by much. But that extra point, he just absolutely failed miserably, and it was discouraging. I mean, you have a transfer coming in from Appalachian State, but he's never kicked in college. So the question is, who's actually going to be more accurate when it comes to game time? I don't think Obarski's going to be your place kicker for field goals and extra points for much longer. And I'm terrible with names, forgive me. What's it, Ryder
Casey, yeah.
Riker, okay.
Sounds like a kicker, doesn't he, Mike? Sounds like a kicker.
Does, doesn't he? He does. But if he comes in and he has half as much poise as he's shown in kicking videos, he's going to be your guy with points on the line. Obarski's got a cannon for a leg. He's a great kickoff specialist, but he can't kick straight. So you know what? Make him the kickoff guy again.
I think we're all really looking forward to the opener, obviously, against Boise State. Do you plan on making any trips to road games? Do you have anything planned? What's your game you're looking forward to besides the opener?
Oh, well, I mean, that Louisville game is definitely one that I've got circled as, let's enjoy this one. Those Cardinal fans, they want revenge. I mean, we as UCF, we stole their BCS bowl game right from underneath them. I mean, there's some deep-seated anger. So I'm really looking forward to that one outside of Boise State. But I can't think outside of Texas in 2007 a more hotly anticipated season opener than Boise State in 2021. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I can't think of a more highly anticipated matchup.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've been open up with FCS schools a lot, so you may be right on the money on that one.
We were in quite a few post-practice scrums together, Andrew, and you could tell that the players, a theme reoccurring was the buy-in, especially on the defensive side, right, with Coach T-Will. What sort of difference maker do you think he can be after the tenure of Randy Shannon and what seems to have been a bit of a divide between the offense and defensive sides of the building?
Well, let's highlight one thing. Randy Shannon was not a Josh Heupel hire. He was a Danny White hire. So there was already a natural disconnect. And it only grew as time went on. Each one kind of did their own thing. And as a result, there was a lack of that cohesive family that you want out of a team. I played on a team. I wrestled, I played football. Team camaraderie is vital. If you don't have that chemistry, that trust, that morale booster, it's gonna hit you eventually. T-Will is just absolutely great when it comes to connecting with players, and that's not a slight on Randy Shannon, because I think Randy Shannon got dealt a rough hand of cards. He worked with what he had last year. With the opt-outs, losing multiple players on your two deep. Losing more to suspensions, having to throw freshmen into the fire. It's not like the NFL where you can find guys and retool. You're stuck with what you got. And with the offense basically either having a really fast scoring drive or a 3-and-out, that team wasn't made to handle that much, on-field time. And I don't don't blame him for the wheels falling off. I really don't. There was a lot of other moving parts behind the scenes, as we've seen since Coach Heupel has left the building. But, you talk about the family. Herb Hand, is big about, being dudes and buying in on that. And, you've interviewed a bunch of players and they all say the same thing. I feel a family connection. That word has popped up many times. And I think we're going to see a boost in morale that we haven't seen in a couple years. Because, winning cures everything. But it's all just a mask for deep-seated problems. When the winning stops, like it did in 2020, all that rotten stuff comes up to the surface. And I think hitting the reset button and bringing in a very player-oriented guy like T-Will and Coach Hand, and keeping a holdover that was really well liked like Coach Wyatt is going to pay dividends for this team for years to come.
I think the other name we hear a ton about, Andrew, is Coach Dawson from the strength program. What do you think he brings to UCF? What, I guess, from your perspective, how does the strength and the conditioning program help the team overall? And what do you think he brings that we can look forward to on the field in 2021?
I think to say that he's been brought up a lot's an understatement. I think he's been brought up more than any other specific coach in the entire roster, even more so than Coach Malzahn. Strength and conditioning, especially in Florida, is huge. You want to take that heat and humidity and all the nasty stuff that we love about Florida and turn it into a weapon and just club other players with it. And one of the things that Coach Malzahn said is during spring practice, they were less about installing and more about bringing these guys into condition. When they walked in the door, players were out of shape. They didn't have a great off-season program because they had no coaching staff, and it showed. So the first 2 weeks of spring was about beating them into shape. And you know what? The players, they all bought into it, and they all loved the way that Coach Dawson handled things and pushed them. And it became like a symbiotic relationship. Coach Dawson pushing the players, buying in, and actually enjoying being pushed, which makes them want to work harder, which makes Coach Dawson push them harder, and it just continues this cycle in a positive way.
It's known that you have an incredible number of UCF jerseys, right? I think you have a closet full of them.
Hold on.
Tour time. Here we go.
There's the closet right there. Forget the rest. My office is the repository of all unwanted things.
What's the next one you're getting? Who's the guy on the team today that you don't have that you're looking forward to buying next?
Well, I don't have, to be honest, I don't have much modern stuff like anything from 16 on because they haven't been made available. Over time, you kind of become a little bit of a jersey snob. You don't buy the replicas or the knockoffs. And by the way, there's a very big difference between the two. I go for the team issues or the game used, and so I'm eagerly waiting for that yard sale that's supposed to come out in the next month or so, and I'm dying to find a way to get in there because I need more.
And what's the count now? I think I saw on your Twitter 50. Was that right?
That's for team issued or game used for all sports for UCF. It's about 56. I've expanded in other sports, got some minor league ones. I love getting some of the minor league one-off jerseys like the Fresno Tacos or the Lehigh Valley Cheesesteaks, when they changed names from the Iron Pigs. The one-offs are great, but as far as UCF goes, I'm about 56 right now. If you want to count, I bought one from the esports team. If you want to count that makes 57. I mean, it's really, really nice. They got them on sale on their team website right now. I got one personalized because why not? It's $10 extra. Go for it.
Do you have a hockey jersey?
I've got a few. I think I have 2 or 3.
UCF hockey.
Yes. I think I have 2 or 3 UCF hockey jerseys. I got a couple lacrosse. I mean, if I had enough cable, I would walk this camera over there and just take a look. I've got a bunch of football, basketball. I've got a Dexter Lions jersey. That was one of my favorites. And I've got a bunch of baseball ones, even some soccer ones. Like when they had the Citronaut soccer jerseys and baseball jerseys for sale, I nabbed one of each of those, one men's and women's and a baseball. I love those. Some of them I can wear. Some of them I don't quite fit. My girlish figure doesn't support it. In other words, I need to lose a lot of weight.
What about Charlie Hewlett? You got Charlie Hewlett?
No, but man, I would give Charlie Hewlett money to get a hold of one of his Browns jerseys. Aside from being a third-generation Clevelander, I was a long snapper growing up, and I nearly walked on to UCF between 2002 and 2003 because their long snapper was terrible, and I thought about doing it, but I psyched myself out because in high school I had both my shoulders reconstructed and couldn't bench press anymore, and I didn't think they would take me seriously. So I psyched myself out from doing it, but I have a deep love for long snappers. He's one of the highest paid ones in the league, and he plays for my team, my childhood team. Man, what a combination. I would give someone else's left arm to get a hold of one of his jerseys.
Maybe somebody's left foot. Was it the left foot, Adam, or the right foot? Is it?
It's the right, Trey. Thanks for asking.
Still too soon. Sorry, still too soon.
We'll take Andrew, we'll send that toe off. You'll never have to worry about it again.
Andrew, let us wrap up with this. Biggest question that you still have in your mind on offense and defense, as we have a couple of months to mull over this first Gus Malzahn spring. What do we still not have clarity about that you're concerned about?
Well, on offense, it's the adjustment of Jalen Robinson from an air raid offense to more of a conventional, short range offense. And if he can make the move that requires more stop and go agility, as opposed to just flat out burn you. On defense, I have to go back to linebacker depth. That was something that really hurt last year. I mean, right now you've got three really good linebackers right now: Eric Gilliard, Tatum Bethune, and Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste. It gets a little quiet once you get below that, and that was an area that UCF got absolutely slaughtered on, is linebacking, because they constantly ran the nickel. You had two linebackers on the field that were basically required to cover the whole thing, and they couldn't do it. And while they used Aaron Robinson occasionally as a third linebacker, you don't have that anymore. So you need a third, more traditional linebacker. Well, you have two or three on the field. Injuries happen. There goes your depth. So linebacker depth is my other question mark going into the fall.
He is Andrew Glukov. He writes for the Black and Gold Banneret. You can find him at StatBoyDrew, and he ends his knee-jerk reaction columns with a line that goes something like this, right? Sorry, this isn't my best. I'll try harder next time. We think you did pretty good tonight.
Well, thank you. The story behind that was from that first game in 2020. The SB Nation writer for Georgia Tech wrote this hack of a piece, this terrible hack job, and claimed at the end, "Sorry, it wasn't my best." Or "Sorry, it was my best." And I decided that, what, I'm going to play with that. "Sorry, it wasn't my best." And despite, I'll be honest, I'm going to pat myself on the back. My work's better than his. But I'm always trying to do better. People have pointed out things I've made mistakes. Things slip through. I'm always looking to get better, so I'll try harder next time.
All right, Mr. Modesty. Thanks for stopping by the Sons of UCF Live. We hope to see you again here.
Happy to be here anytime, guys.
At StatBoyDrew on the back of one of his 56, 57 jerseys. What about you guys? How many do you have?
I have a Schneider. I have a bootleg Milton, and then just like a yeah. There's a couple of just generic ones that have the number 1 on it.
Yeah, I don't have any UCF jerseys. I think I have 2 total jerseys. I don't think I have any UCF jerseys.
You have one right behind you.
The one right behind you.
I don't wear that though. That's not for. I don't know if Andrew actually has any of his that he frames. I don't really know. I imagine he might have. No, yes, he's still in the chat. He's saying no frame jerseys. So all of his are wearable jersey attire.
He's been around just as long as us, Andrew. Right? He's right around the same time as us. The only suggestion I have to him, he did a great job tonight. Stat Boy Drew. I think he needs to change the Stat Man Drew.
Hold on, I'm sorry, guys. I hate to interrupt you. He's now taking us to the closet here. I have to get this back on the stream here. Andrew, you're back. I don't know if you can hear us, Andrew, but you're back on. There we go. Yeah.
Some basketball.
Yeah. There it is.
Oh, there are the football ones.
Okay.
Do you wear them?
That's
How long does it take for you to decide
in the
which one
back.
you're gonna wear?
I think he took his headphones off. I don't think he can actually hear us, so we can make fun of him if you want to.
Football. Get
Join
out
us
of
next week while we go through
Yeah.
Eric Lopez's cupboard only on the Sons of UCF.
Well, we just did that with Sammy Kincaid with our hats on the
There you
wall.
go.
So
We did.
look at that. Quite the collection.
There goes Andrew. There goes Andrew, the connection. All right.
That's good stuff. 57 jerseys. How about that? Soccer, you flashed the score, Adam, 0-0, UCF and SMU. They are at the half on ESPN+. Speaking of ESPN, they're out with their Power Football Index. They don't seem to like us very much in this thing, do they? They have us the 70th best team in 1A or FBS. 7.5 wins predicted. I got to go with the over, even though Andrew's got 2 or 3 losses in there. I got to go with the over. That's 7.5 wins. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know how official these stats are. Obviously, every year they do these kind of things. And listen, if we're going to be completely honest, looking at the roster we had last year, not knowing what's coming in, not knowing the development you get under Malzahn, I get how you might be a little bit down on the team based off what you saw last year. I know we lost a lot of key players, particularly on the defensive side. So if there are pundits out there who want to be a little bit skeptical about UCF, I think we have to accept that, because I do think obviously we underperformed last year. We don't know what's coming back in some spots on the team. I think this is a tad too low. Like I think I've said on the show before, we're probably number 2, at least in my mind, behind Cincinnati. So this seems a little low, but I also don't fault people for having a little bit of skepticism based on what we did last year and who we are losing as we take the field this year.
The FPI is created by a bunch of nerds in a room that just look at how many players are returning, right? So we lost a lot of our receivers. Basically, that's a lot of production, and some running backs. Basically, we're losing a lot of starters, so they factor that in. Oh, we have a new head coach. Let's factor that in. Last year, our RPI was like top 10, I think, and we saw how well that went. Means nothing, but it's just another thing to talk about, I guess. And 7.5 wins. I mean, if we win less than 8 games, like I said, I think everybody's off the Gus bus.
Well, we know you are. It doesn't take much, really. Some big moves announced today by the NCAA Division I Council, adopting a one-time transfer rule. That's interesting. And lifting the recruiting dead period effective June 1. So you can see that those changes are going to be impactful on college football, and soon.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because I think in my mind, I wonder how much the group of 5 teams will benefit from this, right? Because I think out of high school, you typically see the kids want to go to Power 5 schools, the big name schools. And every year we see a bunch of kids who are leaving those schools because they're 3rd or 4th on the depth chart and 4-star, 5-star guy. So you wonder if the group of 5 quote unquote schools like a UCF will benefit from this. Obviously, the only concern, if we're going to be selfish, that we all would have is our great player who has a great season, and then maybe our record isn't great, and all of a sudden a school graduates their quarterback, aka like a Dylan Gabriel, and they go, hey, why don't you come to Oklahoma? You can play for us. Or why don't you come to USC? We're a quarterback away. I think that's the part that probably scares all of the little guy, is that the big guy will come in and steal their best player. And I think ultimately this probably helps the group of 5 schools more than it actually hurts them. Well,
talking with Jake Brown this week, he mentioned how we haven't seen a lot of people leave UCF. We've had a lot of guys transfer in and make big impacts. We've seen out of a number of guys. Not too many people leave. Mackenzie Milton is a different situation with the whole quarterback thing. But usually people stay. And if we're winning, I'm not scared of people transferring out.
UCF also announcing on its Twitter, 92% of season tickets sold, less than 3,000 remain. It's just April. You got to like the chances that they can move tickets and be at a announced sellout of season tickets before that opener against Boise State.
One thing I don't know, Trace, I feel like if I have this correct, I thought Heupel had a clause in his contract that essentially got him more money the more season tickets or the more the stadium was sold out. Yeah. I doubt Malzahn has something like that in his contract. But either way, Malzahn has done a 10 times better job of promoting UCF in his 3 weeks here than Heupel did in his 3 years here. So kudos to Malzahn, the billboards, all the things he's saying, all the different quotes he's given, and the jersey name thing that got a lot of attention. In his short time here, he's done more to promote UCF. You would think he'd have a clause in his contract about season tickets because it certainly never seemed to come that way under Heupel.
Obviously, COVID played a huge factor last season. And now with the vaccine becoming more available to everybody, people are a little less scared. A lot of people excited to get back in. I wonder how many people now we're going to start seeing buying new season tickets.
Second half underway. Eric Lopez, his message flashing earlier, would like to hear some play-by-play, guys. You got the soccer game on, Mike? Can you give us anything?
The only screen I have is you guys' beautiful faces. I don't have anything else.
Wow.
So nice. Speaking of Eric Lopez, we go around the kingdom on softball. How about softball last night? Big win over the Florida Gators. They sweep the Gators. That's 3 top 5 wins for softball. They had a flat tire on their bus on the way up to Gainesville. No big deal. Start a little late and take out the Gators in Gainesville. Gotta like that.
I'm just glad you didn't go with the beautiful Eric Lopez segue there, Trace, first of all. Secondly, we own the Gators, right? I think that's enough said, right? We own the Gators, and in softball, we're the champs. We own the Gators.
And we swept them this year. The best team in the state, I think, undeniably. I forget what our record is. I think we lost 2 games in the state, but we're like 17-2 or 11-2. And just a dominant win last night. Shut them out. They only had, 3 hits? A tremendous performance, and we blew them out from the first inning on. So it's always great when you beat up on the Gators.
And they're on a roll. They swept ECU prior to that. Pitcher Aaliyah White, the AAC Pitcher of the Week. This is a big one coming up now over the weekend, beginning Friday against Wichita State. UCF is 9-3 in league play, 30-9 overall, but they're looking up at Wichita State. So in speaking with Eric Lopez, he mentions that Wichita State at 25, UCF at 23, first top 25 matchup in AAC history between 2 softball teams. And Eric thinks that UCF really has to take 3 out of 4 at home, or they may not be able to catch Wichita State, who's a pretty powerful team. So big doings. It's a Friday game, Saturday doubleheader, and a Sunday matchup. Softball having a good season, but this is a big early AAC matchup where they've got to really take 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I would say they've been up and down, right? I think we were very hot, and then we had a couple of thuds throughout the middle part of the season. Good opportunity in front of the home fans to put more of that softball magic out there. I think this has been a team that's had some really big magical moments that have come up in big games. They seem to like the bright lights maybe a little bit more than the doldrums of Tulsa. So perhaps this is an opportunity for them to get out and shine in this 4-game series. And obviously they've come through, and we've maybe not expected they would in the past. So maybe they kind of like their backs against the wall with a little bit of pressure, and that's maybe what you get this weekend.
I love the depth out of the starting pitching. The offense has been great, and I'm really looking forward to some more Eric Lopez calls this weekend. Maybe we get a couple walk-offs in there, and maybe I'll throw in another one of my daughter's highlights. He's always good for one of those.
I think he's now charging, Mike, by the way. That whole experiment calling your daughter's game is taken off now. He's making money on the side.
Is Elo on Cameo now? Is that what's going on?
I can pay him with a hat. Does he want a hat?
He'd probably take a hat. Yeah.
There we go. Perfect.
So, what they have to do, though, is they have to adjust after winning in Gainesville and then this very important AAC series and not look ahead to when the U.S. women's national team comes to UCF Tuesday, 5 o'clock at the UCF softball complex. That is a pretty high-profile matchup, and really a great time for UCF softball. Now, not very far away, things not as good for UCF baseball. They go to Cincinnati. They can only get the split against a not very good Cincinnati team. By the way, the baseball game, they moved up because of the threat of inclement weather on Saturday. So it had I believe, 10 a.m. start. And I started watching that and then left for the spring game. The spring game, the post-spring game media session, that game was still going on, a 20-10 final, UCF in that one, 4.5+ hour game. Again, they only get the split, and they've got the Cows this weekend, war on I-4 points up for grabs, and then they go to, I believe they go to ECU, which is one of the best teams in the country. So just as we said with beating Wichita State 3 out of 4, they really got to take 3 out of 4 against the Cows, or I don't know where the turnaround in this season is going to come.
Yeah, we just can't keep splitting series like this. Obviously, we're kind of in a hole already. We need to start winning some of these series, and we've seen this before where we have a good opportunity and we're not able to capitalize on it. We just can't keep splitting series, particularly against teams that we should beat or teams that we had an advantage on. And The Cows, that's another series we split, 2 weekends ago, I think we split with them. So another series that, goes down the drain. Hopefully we can take an outright win on this one, because we're not going to make any headway if we keep splitting these series.
Yeah, we kept kicking the can down the road. Okay, well, when we get to this series, we should be at 500. When we get to conference play, we need to be at 500. And basically, we're a 500 ball club. This is what we are. We haven't put everything together yet, and it doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon. Hope for the best, but I'm not really expecting much out of this team.
4-4 in the league, 14-18 overall. The Cows just 2-2 in league play. They're 12-14 overall. Got to take 3 out of 4, but it seems like we say that every week. I saw earlier that Nelson, who, if I'm not mistaken, is pinch hitting for Adam. I don't know why that is. Adam, you messaged me earlier that you're in a walking boot, and based on Mike's standards, that should be enough for you to participate in the 5K. But Nelson's question was, does anyone know how Gus feels about national championship on the stadium? He's been asked about the national championship, and he credits UCF for their victory against his then Auburn Tigers in 2017. But I don't believe he has specifically been asked about it appearing in the stadium or his thoughts on that. But by the time we see him, perhaps in a couple of months, that may be a stale question to rehash from the local media. But I don't believe he's been asked directly about the words on the stadium, but they're not coming down, and they're going to be behind him. So you better get used to it for the time in which he's here.
Well, here's another one, Trace. This was Brian W. Peterson. I think we were talking about this earlier. We didn't opine on it particularly, but is this Dylan's last spring game?
According to Bukov, possibly.
Yeah, he's pointing. He's still on the chat here. He's pointing at something. I think himself. I can't really tell. Yes, that's.
Is he now
okay,
rearranging the closet?
Hold on. Let's see the pointing in it, just so we can see.
No,
there it is.
I'm nodding ahead. I actually think it is his last spring.
There he goes.
At UCF, especially if he has a good year, because this is a thin class in 2022.
I kind of like this, Andrew, in the groom. We just bring him in whenever we need something or whatever. I need some comic relief. I kind of like. We can work this out, Andrew. I'm not sure if you're available every Thursday. We'll see if we can work it out.
We can make something work.
Make something work. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, again, throw in a hat and he'll be available anytime.
I can be bribed and bought.
All right. Well, bye.
I don't think we can get rid of him if we wanted to. Look,
here he goes. He's gone right now, but he's not really gone. That's the thing. He's still here. You can't see him though.
So, based on the rules of your show earlier in the week with Jake Brown, does this mean we can let any profanity we want fly? Is that the new rules, or do we need to give a parental warning before the Sons of UCF Live? I got a little salty with Jake Brown on episode 128 of the Sons of UCF pod.
Yeah, it was. Listen, it was one of the most raw and honest interviews we've heard in a long time. I know his phone was a little bit scratchy at parts there, which was unfortunate. I mean, I think we thought about even not airing the interview because there were some parts that you probably just couldn't hear very well. But I think the raw honesty that you heard and the emotions he had, and listen, he's the guy who saw it all, right? From the 2015 doldrums to the heights of 2017 and then the transition period. He brought some really honest commentary. I think he was really transparent in his thoughts about different coaches and what they brought to the table. And it's definitely something, if you're a fan of UCF and you've enjoyed listening to us over the years, I think, Mike, this is probably the most honest interview we've ever had anybody do. But yes, there are a couple of choice words in here. Some of them you can't really make out because there's too much phone static. So you may luck out and a couple of F-bombs will slip by. You don't even know. But it was just a really raw and authentic interview. And I really enjoyed Jake's perspective on that stuff.
Maybe we need a Jake Brown translator in which Mike spells out the words when Jake's audio cuts out.
Because then I'm going to have to like a dump button, like a beep button with Mike here. And I got enough problems when he wants music and he wants stats on the fly. I don't need to be beeping out words too. I got other things to do.
When you first told me you wanted to do a podcast, I think my first question to you was, can we curse?
Yes, it was. It was.
We haven't done it the whole time. Jake let a few fly, but that's cool because you know how he truly feels about situations, and he communicates that way, then that's fine with me too.
The second question was, can I drink during the show? And I don't know what you said, Adam, but Mike has clearly seen a green light to do that during shows. So
I think Mike's typically good during the podcast. It's the tailgate pregame situation that you got to worry about. So podcast nights, I think, because he's got softball right now. Apparently, he can't be loaded during softball, is my guess. So I think we're good during these shows. Any sort of pregame situation, I mean, all bets are off.
Yeah. I mean, I did have a couple of IPAs a couple of episodes ago, but that was okay. But you're right. Usually I'm straight-laced during our shows, and then pregame shows, it's up for grabs. I'm tailgating at that point.
Yeah.
A note before we leave, men's basketball announcing the signing of PJ Edwards, a 6'4" guard from North Carolina, the second in the 21-2022 recruiting class, joining Darius Johnson. I believe in the media release said the 17th best player in the state of North Carolina. So that's part of Johnny Dawkins' recruiting class announced today, coming to UCF.
First off, I really love the specific stats that they have with the rankings of the players. Listen, Johnny's brought in the talent. I mean, we've seen him do that. He's brought in players before. We just haven't had a chance to get them all on the court at the same time actually playing the game of basketball. If we can ever do that, I think then you get a fair shake at evaluating Johnny Dawkins. Is this that year? Hopefully. But he continues to bring in talent. I mean, there's no denying that. We just can't seem to get them all together at the same time.
Well, that's part of what's so frustrating about it is we have these guys every year. We say, well, Darren Green, this guy looks like he's a player. Isaiah Adams, he looks like he's a player. We have them all here. I just want to see it carry to the next level.
Mike, I see you wearing your medal. You have run your 5K. What was the time? So I can, I have a standard by which to go by. What's the time that you have? What is that?
I think I could have done a little bit better. And I thought
that's Andrew's line.
Was 3.12. Technically, it's 3.10. So I ran a little bit further, which added a few seconds to my time.
Here we go.
But it was pretty good. It was under 24 minutes. It was 23 minutes and 56 seconds.
Actually, Trace, if you don't mind, Trace, I do have something I wanted to share with you really quickly. If you don't mind,
certainly.
If you've got a moment, I don't know if you're busy or not.
I'm just watching soccer. 34 minutes left to go.
Maybe there'll be a Sons of UCF group. We get Mike off the couch, and maybe we can pull this off. All right, Mike. Now I got to tell you, I participated in a 5K before. There's my vote. So I actually ran that. So I'll trash talk right now. I can do better than you.
So what was your time?
Very good. Better than some.
You know the numbers. Say the numbers.
No, I'm not. I'm not numbers driven like that.
All right, so I just said my number. You laid down the gauntlet first. Now there's proof that you started the trash talking. I've carried it through now for a month. You're up.
I'm not sure that the trash talking in general started at that very moment. There may have been things that have been said prior to that. But I'm on team Jan and Britt, and I know you won't disparage the queens of the UCF Twitter mafia. Weather dashed our attempt on Sunday, and then I had travel returning today from Houston. So I've got to connect with Jan and Britt and determine a time before this thing wraps up on Sunday. So I'm on team Janet Britt, and I know that when we come together next week, no matter what our time, which I'm confident will be better than Adam's time.
Don't tempt me, Trace. I will get out there and re-break this toe. Don't you tempt me.
Well, if he beats you in a walking boot, then I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you had him beat me in crutches on the show earlier in the week. I think you had him beating me with crutches. Which, by the way, the thought of a 3.10 on crutches seemed a bit daunting. In fairness,
I thought rough on the armpits, probably.
I thought a 5K was 3.13.
No, I thought it was 3.12. I typed it in this morning after I ran it, and it said 3.106 something. Blah, blah, blah.
We need someone to help us on this one here. Let's bring it in. Andrew, do you have any idea what a 5K is?
I believe it's 3.1 and change.
All right.
I'm sure that clarifies this.
All right, thanks for your help, Andrew. Have a good evening. That didn't help us, right? That didn't do much for us.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to be seeing Andrew in my dreams tonight. I don't think I can get him out of here.
You don't have to wait for your dreams. He's right there. No need to wait.
I'm going to hunt you.
He's right there. No need to wait for your dreams.
Oh, and he just will remain in the green room until next Thursday's show.
I could kick him out. I don't feel I could kick him out, but it's just more entertaining. I think he's enjoying the show. I don't want to, it's one of those where you call the radio station, you hang online so you can hear the rest of the show. I enjoy having Andrew down there. Lonely Bumblebee's coming in with 3.107.
Yeah, that's what I said. It was 3.10634, whatever it is, and you round it up to 3.107.
On the
I ran
bright side, we have
3.12.
5 different answers here, so if you're really confident that we've got this correct.
Well, I ran an extra 0.02 on my time, so can we subtract like, I don't know, 8 seconds?
Oh my goodness! You already have a box of hats. Jeez, you just want you don't want to win another hat, do you?
There's a guy that I already ran way better time than me. I saw he ran like 9 miles, and he just took a chunk of 3 miles out of that thing, and that was his time. It was way better than mine. But out of the Sons of UCF group, I don't know. I may be the leader.
We need somebody to stop paying. Anybody on the Sons of UCF team, please. Somebody, get it. Rent a scooter. I don't care what you got to do. Somebody get 2350 so we can end this charade already.
And you could probably just drive and do it as long as you had the app running. I mean, it's possible.
I know Jan and Britt are watching right now. Did you hear that? We may drive along the Riverwalk. We can do that loop in the same vehicle. All right. For Andrew Glukov in the green room, Adam and Mike, I'm Trey Strelko. This has been Sons of UCF Live this Thursday. Go Knights, everyone.
Charge on.